Hey.
And we've got honestly, it's a pleasure today. I'm really excited to be able to spend some time today with Manish. You and I have been friends for a while, and one of my clients, and we've just grown an amazing relationship, truly based on what you add to the world and why you do it. Because I look at your background. You're 25-year veteran of the financial industry, the CEO of ARQ. I mean, there's so many other aspects that you're so involved in, especially with like child, awareness and care and aspects of those different ways. And, I'm really excited to kind of jump in today and really talk about, your why, what you're up to, and what's next,
And how to grow your wealth.
and how to grow your wealth. That's always
We're
important.
pumped to have you, Manish. Thank
No,
you.
thank you so much, Rachel and Joshua, for the opportunity. Really looking forward to the next session.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, let's talk about this, right? I mean, like everyone's here, they're kind of going in. And of course, anyone listening, make sure, please, as you join us, tell us where you're in from. Let us know. Say hi.
We're in from Austin.
We're in
Manish,
Austin.
where are you in from?
I'm from London, UK.
There we go.
London. So if you're in from London, let us know.
Yeah. So, and we'll continue to be able to go in and, let's talk about it, right? I mean, like your background and for 25 years, give me a quick synopsis of what you saw working in the financial industry for 25 years. Cause when you're kind of going in, that's a long stint in that industry and in an old industry at that, because I mean, it's very antiquated. And I know a lot of the things that you're doing right now are much more, like really groundbreaking comparatively to what the industry is known for.
Yeah, I think, obviously been in the industry for 25 years. I worked at two very prestigious organizations. Luckily for me, I've always been at the front end of innovation. So I was sort of one of the first traders on the derivative desk. So it was all brand new, innovative, and fast paced, fast growth, and with amazing peoples, as managers, but also team colleagues as well. Hopefully some of them are listening in today. And so with that, it was always about sort of how can you take unique opportunities, unique situations, and how can you evolve them over a period of time? And, we did that successfully at these two different institutions. But at the latter part of my career, I was really sort of thinking about technology and how does technology transform that current ecosystem. And I think what is beautiful, and I call it collaborative disruption. I think there's an amazing tipping point now whereby technology aligned with the traditional ways of doing things really merge together. And that's sort of how I kicked off ARQ. That was sort of the background to ARQ.
And see, I always say ARQ. And have I been saying it incorrectly the entire time?
Not really. I think you can say ARQ.
Not really. I love this guy.
They both work well.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? Obviously, I was at Microsoft and then Gartner and have a lot of people I know in the tech industry, and would love to know what are you doing? What are you thinking about when you're taking the advancements in technology and moving an antiquated, industry like the financial industry?
So I think, Rachel, that's a great question. But I think the parallels are, if you look at sort of Blockbuster and Netflix, Blockbuster had a limited amount of resources in terms of buildings, and it, in essence, tried to service this large client base. But the challenge that it had was that it was trying to sell large volumes to a few customers, and it was trying to make it spread from that world. Lo and behold, Netflix came in, and Netflix really sort of said, we want to serve low volumes, but to a mass amount of people. But right. People really want choice. They want independence. They want transparency, and they want free will. And you know what? Most of them know what they want. They've got great relationships, great connections. And through that, the long tail started. And Amazon is the same. So when you look at the consumer space, you've got, in the media entertainment space, you've got Netflix. When it came to selling products, obviously you've got, the likes of Amazon, Shopify, etc. And similarly to, marketing, when I look at sort of standout authority, you've got to service that long tail, but you've got to do it in such a way whereby each person feels recognized, they feel unique, and they feel that they are, have a voice. And that's the mission of ARQ. And that's what we're trying to do to the existing ecosystem of wealth management. The current ecosystem is obviously traditional bricks and mortar, but they have a long tail of clients. And unfortunately, call it limited resources, call it the pressure to increase margins. It's really hard to service that long tail. And so that's why I came up with the concept of, being the Netflix to the net wealth management industry, and having something that really allows that personalization and yet allows the wealth industry to do what it does amazingly well. So I'm really obsessed about this science around what I call collaborative disruption. And collaborative disruption is 1 + 1 = 11. So what is currently in the ecosystem works really well with great clients, great products out there. But when I say to you, there's 3 million plus different, products out there for any individual, how can they choose? And they can only choose by what's been pushed down them. And unfortunately, that's through either marketing or clickbait or something like that, but it might not be the right thing for them. And so that's where ARQ sort of really has kicked in and how it's trying to change things. But I just wanted to give you an example of real world examples, and obviously how ARQ fits into that space as well. So we're doing the same as some of these other bigger titans in this traditional industry as well.
I mean, look, how many people missed out on Netflix in the early days? So I mean, this is a great opportunity for everyone to be paying attention to, that disruption, because I mean, that was a massive disruption for that industry. I mean, not just Blockbuster, but the movie industry as a whole, distribution and like that. So man, I love that. And one of the biggest things that I always appreciate about you, and you say this all the time, is, what you're trying to do with ARQ is not just about the wealth management side. Wealth is more than just a number. And you say this often, and it's because based on your belief in what you're trying to be able to do. So, I mean, I'd love to understand, tell us more about that aspect of it, right? Wealth is more than a number.
Yeah, I'd love to give a real life example. So
Please.
When the concept of wealth is more than a number came up, I just want to sort of go through one person's name. I won't mention the name, but he's a 42-year-old person, worked at an amazing accountancy firm, and, working 16 hours a day, came back at home. And we used to go on sort of walks together in our area, mainly for mentoring or just support. And, so he's got working 16 hours, got a nice place, semi-detached. His wife works as well. And as we're walking around, he was like, do you think I have enough for a child? Do you think I could leave a legacy to my child whereby I have enough? Now, for many, we would sort of say, well, this mass affluent person, there's many impoverished people that have, real tough challenges, and how can this person think that way? But the truth is that many of us, like this individual, they go back home in solitude because there's so much dopamine that really makes them feel inadequate. And so they're looking for their tribe. They're looking to fit in. And when they're out there with friends, obviously there's friends that are saying, I've just got this amazing investment, made 100 times X back. And so they don't know relatively if they're doing well or not. And I think that's the one thing about Charles Darwin. Ultimately, we are a species whereby that relativity, that connectivity is really important. And that's why I brought up the wealth is more than number concept. And wealth is more than number is there's a massive push about fear and greed. And it's all about money. But at the end of the day, no one at their dying deathbed ever said, I wish I worked more hours. And so with that in mind, people are really looking for health. And COVID really has made that point clear. It really has. I've seen so many people that are just like, you know what, I want to take some time out, be with my family. So what is the value of going to the gym for an hour when you equate that to your wealth? And the next one is relationships. And there's 4 amazing studies done in the world. And it's about this science about human flourishing. And what human flourishing says is, how can you have every facet of your life in such perfection that you feel in equilibrium? And that's the whole science about human flourishing. And there's 4 universities that have done some studies. University of Pennsylvania, Harvard has done one, a great guy called Scott Barry Kaufman, and a woman called Carol Reese. There's only 2 commonalities across all of them. The first one is, to flourish, we must have purpose and meaning. And the next one is, to flourish, you must have deep relationships. And life is ultimately about relationships. And so the last one for me, and it's very dear to my heart because I've worked in charity and established many charities, and unfortunately for me, I've been at the rougher end of needing charities and really wanting that support for me and my loved ones. But when I look at the last piece, I really think that all of us, and particularly with COVID, we were really built to help each other and support each other. And I think that piece around impact is something that's so meaningful. And you can read so much about it now. And when it comes to investments and sustainability, it really is so important. And I look at all the news that's on about climate control. So, I think the time is right whereby we look at wealth as being more than number. And wealth is, of course, it's about your financial wealth, but it is about your health. It is about amazing relationships. And most importantly, why don't we all try and leave the world in a better place for our loved ones, and so they can enjoy it for a longer period of time as well. So that's why the notion of wealth is more than number came up. I think interestingly though, Joshua, just to extend that question, is for the first time now in life, I think it's possible to actually calculate how much health wealth you have, and to calculate how much your relationships are worth and how much you're doing for impact. And therefore, wouldn't it be amazing if the Forbes list wasn't about the richest person in the world, but someone that had the most amount of wealth? The word wealth, by the way, came from the term of wellness. Are you well? And so it was never attributed to money. And so that's been sort of happening over a long period of time.
See, Rachel, this is why I love this man and support him and appreciate him so much, because that it's such a deeper meaning and thoughtful process of what he's doing and his why. And Manish, man, this is what I want everyone to be able to hear, because they look at it and go, oh, well, he's in finance. All right, well, it's just money. They look at that. It's so topical, and they don't realize the depth of what you're trying to be able to do and what you're trying to change in this world. So, man, thank you so much. I've really diving deep into that.
So can
just
you
on
talk?
that, just to go back, Rachel, if you don't mind. And it really is linked into impact. So I just want to give you some numbers, if I may.
Please.
So there's a great person out there. His name is Ashwin Chopra. He wrote a book, and it's called The Aspirational Investor. And what he did, and the statistics are true now, but he did it a while ago. So between 1984 to 2013, the S&P 500 returned 11.1%. And mutual funds for their clients returned an average 3.7%. So the individuals missed out roughly about 2/3 of their wealth. Now, the question is, if we say to ourselves, where did that wealth go? Who ate that wealth? Where did it go? Did it sort of, was it produced, or was it some wealth manager, or where did that wealth go? Was it taxes? Was it sort of inheritance tax or something like that? But where did it go? And the truth is that the individual investor just made wrong choices, but that wealth went nowhere. And so the driver for ARQ is that we sincerely believe, we feel we can create more wealth for you, but that wealth never existed in the world. So to give that to impact causes is amazing, because now we're missing out. We're actually capitalizing on those missed opportunities that didn't exist. So we're not taking any money from anyone's pocket. We're actually just creating new wealth for impact, which to me is just so powerful. It's just such a powerful concept.
That's awesome. Can you just talk a little bit more about this app, a little bit more concretely? What can you expect? Who's it for?
Yeah, so the application is for people in the long tail. We feel that people in the long tail are individuals with net worth of between 500,000 and 5 million. 5 million is normally what you need, Rachel, to have a private banking account, and 500,000 is something where normally a retail bank would say you need someone else. And so what our wealth philosophy is, Rachel, is that we feel that through better awareness, and awareness comes from listing all your assets in one place, understanding the risk of those. And by the way, you also have your financial DNA. You have your own financial DNA. So if you're aware of that, you can make better choices. And how you can make better choices is, firstly, you can compare your performance to others. That's what we used to do in the industry. But most importantly now, Rachel, you can compare how much you've made this year to me. So if you made 20% and I've made -5, that's fantastic, because now, just like the Tesla car, we can all share information. And that means that you can create more wealth learning from my mistakes or vice versa. But that's the network effect that we want. And so that's the choices piece. And then that leads to better results. And better results are whether you want your results driven by fixed goals. And what we found is the mass affluent population are very driven by real things that they know. So I want to pay off my house. I want to make sure that my children can afford great schools. I want to retire early because I'm not sure if I have this role for the rest of my life. So those are the sorts of tangible things. And so what the application does is it sort of gives you a probability score of how close you are to these life goals of yours. And then what it does is it presents better choices for you. But those choices now are transparent. You're not being sold to, you're not being lied to. And now because you're analytical, you have some information that just makes you feel comfortable because you know exactly where you are when it comes to your wealth as well. So that's sort of the backdrop of what we do and how we do it. I would say that we're trying to present inaccessible information that has never been presented before to the mass affluent population to make better investment choices. And by the way, I would say that when you look at the difference isn't sort of 1% of your wealth. It's sort of like 10, 20, 30% of your wealth over the lifespan of your lifetime. So huge, huge numbers.
So I would go on the app and plug in all my banking information, all the things, my investments. You basically have all of those plugins.
Yeah. So the way it works is so far is you would go into the application. We use external consolidation tools, so we don't see any of your information. So it's super, super secure, super private. That's one of the key things for us. Yeah. And so you put your password in just like you would if you with an external bank. As soon as you do that through open banking, it allows us to gather information on a day-to-day basis for you. Now, given that information that we get through machine learning and AI, we're able to connect to different other pieces of information. And because we're able to connect to different pieces of information, we can sort of let you know where you are from a rankings perspective, where you are from a fee perspective, and we can give you that sort of relative color of where you stand in the marketplace.
Got it. So you pay for it?
At the moment, it's free. And the reason for that is, as I said, my mission in life is to really be about impact. So we want as many people to use it as possible. And from that, we just want to make the product better and serve our clients in an amazing way.
Yeah. And I mean, cool. From what I understand, the website everyone can go to be able to get that is
YourARQ.com.
Yeah. So YourARQ.com. And we'll put that in the message and make sure everyone can be able to see that. And I mean,
you're taking beta testers right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just one thing, Rachel, on your point that you mentioned, and it sort of goes back to a very important philosophy for everyone listening in. And, we've all heard about Birdie Manoff. We've all heard about sort of other cases where your money's been hacked and other things that hit the press on a day-to-day basis. But I want to share a very personal story about a human being, and it's his birthday today, and it's my father. And so my father, he came into the UK many, many years ago, and he wanted to get enough for my brother to down pay a mortgage. And so he held down 4 jobs, 7 days a week. He was really sort of making sure that we had the best lifestyle. And obviously, when he did that, he was very trusting of people around him. So let's just say it's an advisor or someone that recommended something to him. And obviously, these people kept on changing. So let's just say over 25 years, let's just say that the changes happened 5 times. Well, obviously, each time that occurred, there was an exit fee and there was a re-entrance fee in those days. And I can still remember my father thinking, wow, I've really worked hard, but why has my investment really produced this? And then obviously what occurs is you can easily defend that because it's like, well, I sent you those statements, those 150 pages, and it was very clearly put there. Now, obviously, I'm giving you an example of someone that was at the lower end of the space, and there's some amazing people that are called in that do amazing relationships. Right. But I'm saying to you that where does that person go? They go nowhere. They have nowhere to argue with because they made the choice, but unfortunately they weren't equipped. So I think the biggest lesson is that everyone listening in, you are the CEO of your Wealth Inc. And so if you're the CEO of your Wealth Inc., you're the person running it. Now, you might want to delegate. You might want to have a team of people around you. You might have a high degree of knowledge, but that Wealth Inc. is yours. And so you need something to ensure that my Wealth Inc. is doing really well. And what I'm fascinated about is how many people just say, well, I've got this amazing person. I make them once a year. And you're like, well, okay, how do you know that's true or it's not true? And there's so many case studies that are out there over so long that really sort of show that unfortunately it's not true. I love to give people this example. So just imagine, Rachel, you and I are trying to buy orange juice in a huge supermarket, and we go there and we go to the counter, and there's literally hundreds of different orange juices. And I say to you, I'm looking for orange juice, and you'll say, well, buy this one because it's shiny, it's at the front, it's got a nice label. And when you look at the financial supermarket, Rachel, it's so much more difficult because down the aisle, you'll have hundreds and thousands of salespeople all telling you that orange juice is the right one for you. And it's amazing. And it's fantastic for you. And we've got this data and we've got X, Y, and Z, and it's brilliant for you. But you might have some kind of intolerance. And that's why our toolkit just acts for you on your behalf as well. And it acts for wealth clients, wealth managers that are B2B for us, because we want to give them the toolkits to obviously service the long tail as well. So I think that's very, very important, that you can't delegate this responsibility. You might think you have, but unfortunately you could be like someone else out there.
No, makes sense. I mean,
yeah, I love it.
We see that all the time. I mean, you forget as people that, are running companies, entrepreneurs, whatever it is you might be, you might have a staff, like whenever you delegate those things, like sometimes if you just go, okay, go ahead and do it, and then you don't worry about it. Well, a lot of times it's not done the way that it should be done because you just, set it and let it go. And I mean, we forget to be able to actually put that same time, energy, and effort into our wealth, into our investment, into our personal life. So I love that analogy, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think just to continue that, Joshua, I think when people look at wealth and wealth decisions, I think, as I said, I think it's about purpose and meaning. And
right.
So if you choose a product for security, which is sort of knowing you have enough and you feel secure that you're not going to run out of money, that's very different from someone that is driven by power, the ability to do what they wish, when they wish, and how they wish. And so I think it's very important for people to know where are they when it comes to security, where are they when it comes to freedom, where are they when it comes to passing stuff down as a legacy, and when it comes to power as well. So those are sort of four important things that people need to think about in terms of purpose and meaning about their money. And obviously those drive certain decisions of what they would invest in and how as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And this also relates to our families and how we plan for our family and our children, which you talked about, and I know you have a lot of passion about. You have an event coming up here on September 9th with ARQ on LinkedIn. Definitely people should check it out, all around planning your family's financial future. Josh and I are in this bucket. So what is a little bit about that event? What are you going to talk about?
Yeah, so on that event, I'm going to talk about, a concept called the 5 Ps. And the 5 Ps are obviously, once you know what your wealth is for, so it's legacy for your children and making sure they have enough. The 5 Ps is, how do you choose your investments? So one of them is it around performance? The second one is, what is the philosophy of the investment business that you're investing in? What's the decision-making process? The next one is people, and the last one is fees. And there's a sort of delicate balance across all 5 of those. So I'm going to walk people through that. The next one is going to be around, it's very interesting in investments. There's been amazing studies done. If you ever go out with friends and there's sort of one friend bragging about how well they've done,
right.
This notion that was done there was this amazing study done at Cornell University by 2 amazing professors. And what it says is that people that feel they're superior in knowledge and performance tend to significantly outperform in the long term when it comes to wealth. So with that, it's what knowledge do you have and how humble are you to learn and constantly learn. And the second one is how much control do you want? And I think those two topics are very interesting because I think you can include your children across those conversations and discussions in meaningful ways as well. And Rachel, just to share with you, I tend to discuss with my daughter, what to invest in and how, because she's more plugged in about, these are the trends, this is what's coming out as well. But that bonding's led to some fascinating conversations. I sadly didn't invest in many things. I don't mention it to her, but I've really missed out on some amazing opportunities that she sort of discussed in the past. So that's what we're going to talk
I get
about.
that. My dad is a CFO, and he's more invested in my investments than I am. He'll text me, your Microsoft stock hit 300.
Yeah, and then I'm going to walk people through what does it mean to, what sort of return should you have? And I think the key thing there is that we always want to outperform, but it's not about outperformance. It's really about your lifetime goals and how much do you need to make on a consistent basis such that you reach that goal. But I think the piece that I really want to undercover is that actually each individual is playing 4 chess games at the same time. One is about returns. So the first chessboard is, am I going to make this returns with this risk? The second one is that in a family situation, you have many investor personalities and values. So how do you settle on the right one within the family context? And how could you assess which is the right one in the family to have as well? The third one is obviously different families have different family dynamics. So obviously some like to do things together. Some like to sort of say, well, at 18, you're going to break away and we're going to have some of this money across to you and impact. But obviously the last one is taxes as well. And so what I'm saying is you're actually playing chess on 4 boards. So you might think that one action on one doesn't have an impact on the others, but it does. And so I think I'm trying to bring that out as well in terms of discussion and conversation as well.
Yeah, I know I'm excited. I mean, I plan on, you and I have known each other for a long time, but this right here, I mean, I plan on being there just because of the fact that I want to learn these things. I want to make sure that Rachel and I can be able to implement it for our families. I mean, this is the type of person I know you are, man, and just being able to give. And this is an event that everyone should make sure they check out. And we just dropped a link in there for everyone to be able to check it out here on LinkedIn. And this has just been an amazing conversation, man. Thank you so much for really kind of diving in, giving, sharing not only with us, but with everyone, your background, your why, and really the passion behind it.
No, thank you so much, Rachel and Joshua as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Manish, and definitely check out the app.
Stephanie
can drop the link if you're interested in beta testing. So thank you so much, Manish.
Thank
Bye,
you so
everyone.
much.
I'll be on LinkedIn Live on Friday interviewing Dux Raymond Sai. He's phenomenal. Josh and I. Do we have someone next week? I can't. We have so many people.
Bring Manish back. I mean,
yeah, we have so many people on the schedule. So many phenomenal people. So please keep in touch with me and Josh. Our community call is coming up September 14th. We got Manish's event. There's so many good things. We only surround ourselves with the best. So we'll see you around. Thank you so much for being with us again.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.